So can we take these two questions on that table over there and on this table? We may not have time to do more, but David Norris.
Thank you, Tom. David Norris. I'm concerned because we've had an excellent presentation, but it raises the question of 16. We're not allowed to vote on that. So our vote is controlled. And I'm concerned about the whole question of control and control of the agenda at this convention, because I think it's not democratic. And I think if we have an issue raised where it's very clear that 16 is a significant consideration, then the fact that what we're presented with is just a question of 17, yes or no, I think we should have a facility to change that and to look at the question of 16. And in the same way, we have the presidency, but we don't have anything except the very edges of it. It's like being told you can buy a house, but you buy it here, you buy it with 4 bedrooms, and you can choose the carpet in the living room. And there are a number of issues that concern me like that. On the questionnaire, we're asked to vote on whether Shannon Éireann should be abolished or reformed. But as I know, it nowhere appears for the discussion by this group, and I think it should. Otherwise, we're avoiding the most important constitutional change that confronts us, and I think that reduces the significance and impact of this convention. So my real question is about the voting. Can we vote on 16?
Yeah. Yeah, I did indicate in the earlier session that we may have a ballot paper which will give an opportunity to vote on matters other than this specific issue of going to 17. David, would you just... I
don't know if the microphone is working.
It is, yeah.
I just, our job as a group, tomorrow morning will be to come up with what would seem to be a fair draft ballot paper that reflects the discussion that we're going to hear today. So if, for argument's sake, one of the topics that's discussed is why not votes at 16 rather than votes at 17, that will appear on a ballot paper, and then there'll be an opportunity for the members to express their views on the ballot paper on all the options that they will have discussed.
Okay. No, that's not. I'm afraid that's not. We are not by the vote of the Houses of the Oireachtas. That's not within the purview of this convention. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted
to... Name, please, and stand up.
Sorry, Joanna Tuffy. I just wanted to clarify, when we're voting tomorrow, what will we be voting on? Is it only the voting age in relation to general elections, or will it be in relation to the voting for other elections? And for example, yes. I know that for EU elections, we can't change the voting age. That has to be done at European Union level. So it's just if we could have clarity, what will we be voting on
Again,
tomorrow?
the answer is precisely as David Farrell has given it, that the voting paper you will receive tomorrow will reflect the conversation in your groups today. And that is, I think, the same answer. Yeah, this table 6, please.
Hi, Jerry Farrell. This is the question just for my own information. Have we any statistics on our current voting patterns from 18, 21, for example? Do we know, is there big turnouts from that age group?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to take actually the 2 more questions, and then we'll answer, and then we'll close this Q&A.
It's a question for
Name,
Teresa.
please.
Sorry, Stephen Agnew. It's just in your research, Teresa, did you look at any sort of scientific evidence in terms of brain development? I mean, is there any evidence that a 16-year-old is significantly less well developed in terms of capacity than an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old?
And is there one final question from anyone? If not, Teresa, can you answer those last 2 questions?
Perfect. I'll take the last one first, and the balance of medical and I think it's neurological opinion is that actually your brain is fully matured at 14. So it's really the discussion about 16, 17, 18 is really about your development as a person, your personality, and it's really about social and cultural factors. And there's actually a lovely quote from the Youth Citizenship Commission report from the UK that says we should think about maturity as a process and not an event. So your brain is fully formed at 14, and then we engage in a process of development thereafter. The other question related to turnout levels. We are concerned about youth turnout, and especially in the last 20 years. So there's evidence for Ireland and also international evidence to say that youth turnout is becoming a concern, and the number of younger people in the 18 to 24 age cohort engaging in voting has been in decline. But I should frame that in the broader context that there is a lot of international evidence that says we need to think about the broader ways that young people participate in the political process, and in particular that they may engage in other forms of political participation, like signing boycotts or attending protests, and that one of the changes that has happened over the last number of decades is that young people don't really see voting as an obligation in the way that they have done in the past. And there's a lot of work, particularly by an academic named Russell Dalton, but also by Pippa Norris, along this particular trend. So voting has been going down among younger people, but it's also the case that other forms of political participation may indeed be taking their place. So it should not be inferred that young people are unwilling to participate. It may just be that they're doing it in different ways. And there's just one other point I would add, and that is that we can actually, it's entirely up to yourselves how you frame the discussion, and the voting age can be reduced for all elections. That can be local elections, European elections, presidential elections. And in Austria, when they did reduce the voting age to 16, the principle of equality applied, and the voting age was reduced for general elections, but it actually applied to all elections. In other countries, what they have done is they have trialled reducing the voting age at local elections. So, for example, in Germany, in a number of areas in Switzerland, and most recently in Norway, they have looked at reducing the voting age at local elections to 16, with the view to looking at how that has worked and perhaps making changes subsequently. And indeed, in Austria, they actually reduced the voting age to 16 at local elections in 2000, and they came back then in 2007-8, and they actually reduced the voting age as a consequence of that trial and broadened it out to all elections. So there's quite a range of items that you can think about and that you can discuss and give us feedback on all of those options, so you can set the discussion yourselves.